Dear gentle listener, your humble hosts have gathered to demystify and delight all of Bridgerton, and more importantly, deep dive into Bridgerton Season 2. I'm your host, Marie Claire, and joining me for this episode is the incomparable Missy.
Hi there! We're gonna do it again! Who's excited?
I'm excited. I mean, This season, which is, of course, Season 2, focused on Kate and Anthony, is considered to be, of the core Bridgertons, maybe one of the most popular. I personally love them all individually, and do not make me choose between my children. But, yeah, the chemistry is like off the charts.
It really is. I think all the seasons have lots of things to love, which is why I'm so glad we're covering all of them. But for sure, there is something different about this season. You know, having just finished my rewatch, I'm just like, wow, yeah, it's just so solid. Just really good stuff.
Of course, we will be talking about mature themes in this, as this is an adult show, and to talk about adult things, we need to be able to talk about those adult things. So you are very much warned that this is not for children.
No, turn it off, children.
Children, do not enter here. But what is interesting about this, the first one came out kind of in the Christmas period of time, and everybody kind of binged it over Christmas break.
Yep.
They had time off. It was COVID. This is still COVID-y.
Yeah.
Still COVID-y, and it was released March 25th, 2022.
Yeah. And part of how you know it was still COVID-y was because since it was released in 2022, they were filming it in 2021. And if you watch the behind the scenes materials, they talk a lot about how especially like the intimacy coordination during COVID was very different, because they were like, oh yeah, they had to be like swabbing lots of things in order to make sure we were safe. And I was like, oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, they also, like, not that this doesn't happen in, like, the books, but they delay a lot of them more than just kissing intimacy stuff until later on in the season, whereas it happens earlier on the season 1.
Well, season 1, season 3, Queen Charlotte, we'll get into all of those. There's usually like a mid-season intimate scene, typically. And at this one, it really is pretty much toward the end. So it's very different in that regard, which is why I will say it's so interesting, because I mean, all the seasons are horny, but I almost kind of feel like this is the horniest season and it has the least sex. So.
Yes. And so there's a lot of like anticipation that follows this. And although they do have like moments of, say, kissing or like getting really close to each other's faces.
Almost kissing. Happens. There's a lot of almost kissing.
Or like the touching moments where they are like engaging in what is called skinship in Korean dramas. There isn't actually like the full-on like bodice ripper sex that you would expect to see in one of these. The big thing about this season is, I think that, let's just briefly talk about Kate and Anthony as a couple. They cast an actress who is tall.
She's so tall. And like, and you can't tell until you see her with certain characters and you're like, whoa, she's looking way down at them.
Yeah. And I freaking love it, because part of the oeuvre of the whole season is Anthony needed somebody who was as powerful, as determined, as frustrating, as we'll get into it, as much of a bully as he is.
Yeah. She needed to be quite literally on his level.
Yeah. And so choosing an actress that never has to look up at him but can stare him straight in the eyes was such a deliberate and beautiful choice. I love it so much.
I love it too.
The season ends up being something of a, I guess, a lot of people have talked about how it's a lot like Taming of the Shrew. And I want to get this kind of out of the way as we dig into the themes and overall motifs of the story. And although on surface you could look at it and be like, oh yeah, that kind of is Taming of the Shrew like, it's really not.
Yeah.
And nor is it enemies to lovers. And so we're going to plant our flag here as two deep analysis people who think way too hard about this stuff than really we have any right to. And just say it is not enemies to lovers. They are not enemies.
Nope. No. They never are, honestly. Like, and the closest they even get to being at odds is like the first 2 episodes where she's trying to prevent him from courting her sister, but that doesn't last very long. And they're not really enemies. It's more just like a general, like, I don't like you. And that's kind of it. And like, so
it's not even like an I don't like you that is based in an actual foundation of like. It has to do with how the character's desires, what they want, what they need, and the lies they tell themselves actually is manifesting. And we're going to dig into that in a little bit. But it's more the trope of like belligerent sexual tension.
Yes.
Where they're too aggressively stubborn to really acknowledge that they do actually like each other. We see this in a lot of places, but my favorite is, of course, Han and Leia from Star Wars. Wonderful girl! Either I'm going to kill her or I'm beginning to like her. Exactly.
Yeah. They fight almost their entire relationship up until they get together, and then they still kind of fight a little bit. So it's like, this is just how they are. That's how their dynamic is. And Kate and Anthony are exactly like that. They kind of pester each other. And again, it's because they are so well matched and they are actually so similar that of course they butt heads, like there's not as much give and take with them. It's more just like we are the same. We are aligned. We understand one another. And this is why Marie Claire and I think it's really more the soulmate thing here. Yes. They're very clearly soulmates, I think, from the start, and that's very clearly indicated by the symbolism, and it carries through to the end of the story. So
it's soulmateism.
Soulmateism. So not Taming of the Shrew, not enemies to lovers, but it is soulmateism, and it's a couple of other things too, Marie Claire.
Oh yeah, I do also want to call out some standard tropes that are used.
Yes.
This is, of course, marriage of convenience with ridiculously high standards. And we also have, like Taming of the Shrew, we have sibling yin yang, right? So we have tall, statuesque, stubborn Kate. And we have short, demure, perfect Edwina.
Right. Yes,
right?
Very much.
So
very much.
We do have sibling yin yang, which is interesting because essentially Edwina's trying to marry her sister in Anthony.
Yes.
And so that's why the triangle is so successful in this, is because Edwina is trying to get between and balance out either Kate or Anthony at any given point. And triangles, of course, are often the core of relationship telling in fiction. And that's why we have so much tension between the three of them when Anthony sort of pretends to put on the clothes of Edwina. Like, and I mean by pretending to be more soft-spoken, not as frustrating. We even have like the call out from Daphne, like, Anthony, mild-mannered?
Yeah.
Do you even know him?
Yeah, she's like, who are you talking about? That's not my brother. Yeah, exactly. No, that's good.
This is important as well to call out more of the differences of Taming of the Shrew from Taming of the Shrew, because it is called out a lot. And I was even one of those people that's like, it's Taming of the Shrew like, but some of the key important aspects of like the patriarchal way by which Kate in Taming of the Shrew is treated. She is not treated with any sort of disfavor except for in her own eyes. Mary does not treat her any differently. She loves both of her kids, even though she is, not adopted,
biological.
Not biological. And that's like a key problem. So all of the development of the character problems that have to be overcome are actually entirely from Kate herself and not from the environment. It is really, character versus self.
Yeah.
A lot in these.
And I mean, it is a result of her environment. Obviously, we learned a lot about her history, sort of what put her in this circumstance. So we do understand that. But yeah, I mean, both she and Anthony have to they have to overcome problems within themselves. And that's part of what makes this season so satisfying is you see these two characters frankly dealing with their own issues and coming together after they have learned the truth.
Yeah, and admitted to that. And so when we eventually get to calling these things out in our discussion, it'll be like, oh, of course, so it'll be really good in that way. Let's dig into like the archetypes, because we didn't really talk about this so much with season 1, and we probably owed it a little bit, because we have bully coward dynamics with of course Simon, and we also have maiden damsel dynamics with Daphne, and I wish we had talked about them a little bit more, but I do want to talk about these now. And so if you're not familiar with the life archetypes, they are throughout our fiction because they're a reflection of our own human life archetypes. We ourselves go through sort of archetypical phases that can be described with sort of motifs and experiences that often populate and show up in our fiction. And so Missy and I like to read Joseph Campbell, as well as Clarissa Pinkola Estes, as well as many other authors who have talked a lot about archetypical stories and how they appear in our fiction, because it's really just our psychology coming to bear when the writers write certain types of stories. And primarily stories about young love and youth and growing up fall into the first phase of life, which is classified by the maiden phase and into the hero phase. Hero with 1,000 faces. A lot of people know what that one's like. The hero's journey. Everybody talks about that one. And actually, this is where we find both of Kate and Anthony, but they're not in positive change arcs. They have doubled down on what is called a shadow archetype, which is a reflection, either passive or aggressive, of the sort of healthy, positive change archetype of the hero. In season 1, we see Anthony actually as a negative archetype as well. He is considered to be an aggressive form of maiden, which is a vixen. He is out there being a rake, saying, I don't want to do what my family wants me to do, leaving it up to Benedict to sire an heir, having his affair with his opera lady. Like he is absolutely stuck in this aggressive, like, I'm just going to do what I want. I'm going to go and drink. I'm going to go and party. I'm going to have my own house. I'm not going to do my responsibilities and my duty. And then at some point, it flips a switch for him where he feels like he has to double down on the duty, but it becomes a burden. So he becomes a damsel and stuck with his family's expectations in his mind. And then at the start of the season, he's like, nope, I'm going to marry, but not for love, just for duty. And actually, it happens at the end of last season because they like to tease it. But
but then he's a bully because he's
a bully.
So, and what it means, just to clarify, so everyone understands what we're saying, is that so the maiden archetype is always dependent in some way. So whether she's a vixen or a damsel or what, or she or he, doesn't matter. But the point is, whether that character is passive or aggressive, they are still dependent. And this is when you see them again within that family system, not really breaking out of it, not really being their own person. When they break out of the family system and they sort of like, I'm an independent person, I know who I am, I know what I'm about, then they are a hero. If they're a coward, then they're, again, they're retreating from their problems. If they are trying to master their problems aggressively, which is what Anthony is doing, then that's a bully. And so his whole thing is like, I'm in charge. I'm the master of the house. I am the I'm the Viscount. Like you hear him he gives a lot more emphasis to his own title this season.
I will find my Viscountess.
Yeah, I need my Viscountess. Like and he's got a plan and he's going to go out and do this and he's judging all these women really harshly. And he is a bully. He is going to forcibly make this marriage happen.
And fundamentally, bullies are destructive to themselves and destructive to their environments. Whereas cowards, which we do see the transformation of both Kate and Anthony into cowards, they're ineffectual. Yeah. And actually that I would say that some of the maybe criticism about this season as it gets to kind of the midpoint where we see Kate and Anthony sort of just being towed along with the story and the flow of the story is actually because archetypically they are in this ineffectual stage of being a hero and being too afraid to step forward. Yeah, fundamentally, the shadow archetypes of the hero are because they fear something heavily. Yeah. So we got to keep that in mind as we get through some of this motif work.
And to clarify, the positive change arc that they're moving towards. So the hero, again, the maiden to hero is separating from the parents and mentors and becoming your own adult. And then the hero journey is coming into partnership with other people. So it's going to be, you're not just you're not just by yourself, you're not independent anymore. So Kate's whole thing about I'm going to go off to India and live by myself and be independent, her whole journey is that she needs to learn to, be with other people. She needs to, in this case, she's going to create a new family on her own with Anthony. And so that's what it is. Or even just having a closer relationship with Mary or Edwina or whatever, that also is part of her journey. Is she can't be separating herself from her family. She needs to be in community. So that is the journey of the hero. And so what they're doing is they're both bullies and then they're cowards because they are resisting this movement toward being part of a partnership.
Yeah, and we see that with Anthony as well, with him resisting sort of being part of the Bridgertons, even though he's forcibly trying to do his duty to become the Viscount of the Bridgertons. And we see this improved over time with him speaking with Gregory about his Latin teacher.
Exactly.
And we see this him being the head of the household and this leader and this heading towards the queen phase, which is the queen is all about community and building the home and having love. And so the goal of the hero is to find love and home.
Yes.
Love and home. And it's often, in conflict with the dragon or the sick king. And actually we have a sick king, empty throne situation with Anthony where he doesn't feel like he can replace his father.
Yep. Yeah.
So there's a lot of these themes, motifs that even in fairy tales and mythic storytelling and stuff that is coming out and bubbling through the surface because it's archetypical. It shows up in our stories.
Yeah.
And one of the key things is that oftentimes the resolution of the conflict is to save yourself from the next progressive shadow phase.
Yeah.
And we see that in Kate wanting to go away to India, which you mentioned, but that would make her a snow queen. She's hiding away from the world. She's taking her away from society. And him potentially becoming a sorceress, which would be an aggressive queen phase where she would probably, or Anthony would rule with an iron fist, this aggressive sorceress, like we think of Cersei, or we think of, other characters that kind of fit that archetype. Rule with an iron fist, but probably continue to rake about the kingdom, right?
Right.
Like he wouldn't find love.
He would be so focused on being the Viscount that nothing else would really matter, and he wouldn't really form this relationship with his family. So, like, again, I think to your point, earlier in the season, we see him, the way he interacts with his family is he's kind of ordering them around. He's telling them what he's going to do. If they give him advice, he's blowing them off. Like all of that kind of stuff. He's, and then he turns to like Gregory and Hyacinth, and he's like, do your lessons and all this kind of stuff. And it's not until toward the end when he starts to move into that queen phase that you see, like you said, he has that very sweet conversation with Gregory. He dances with Hyacinth, like he's trying to be supportive of Benedict and Eloise, and he's trying really hard to support his siblings and even his mother. Like you see that the way he behaves toward his mother changes. So he does fortunately go through that positive change arc where he becomes the queen. But yes, he would have been the sorceress if he had married Edwina. Yep,
exactly. And it would have been bad for everybody. Yeah. Primarily bullies lie to themselves and others. And we see so much of this. So we'll call it out as we talk about the season. But also Kate lies to her mother, lies about the Sheffields, there's so many lies, and they're all based in this idea of fear.
Yep.
And so that's really, really important to these archetypical phases. Yeah. That was fun. I enjoyed talking about those.
It's super fun.
All right. Let's dig into some mythic motifs, Missy. And I'm super excited about this because you and me like a good horse husband story.
Oh man, I'm so excited. So it's funny because we talked about what it wasn't, right? We said it's not really Taming of the Shrew. It's not really Enemies to Lovers. Well, okay, then what is it, right? And the most obvious thing is horse husband. And how do we know? Because there's horses all over this story. There's Kate and Anthony, their first meeting on their morning ride is they race their horses and they have this whole conversation. Then again, they meet at the horse races in the following episode. Anthony actually gifts a horse to Edwina because he mistakes Kate's enthusiasm for horses for Edwina's enthusiasm. So it's funny because he doesn't even realize he's courting Kate. He thinks he's courting Edwina.
But yeah, he even gifts the horse and
the horse. And then and again, he's like he hands her the horse and he tells her all these wonderful things about the horse and what a good specimen it is. And she's like, no, I like things that can curl up in my lap. So you get to see that difference between the sisters in terms of like Kate wants the big powerful horse, right? And Edwina, she'll take the little dog, right? And then there is obviously later, when they meet again one morning, when she begs him not to break up with Edwina, she's like, you have to marry her. Like, that's the horses as well. And then obviously the final ride at the end before Kate's fall. Horses just throughout the entire story. So it's a very big thing, big motif, certainly for Kate specifically, but really for the two of them. And the thing is that according to Barbara Foss-Levy, who wrote In Search of the Swan Maiden, which we reference often, she claims that women who prefer horse mates are sexually insatiable. And so they tend to be shunned from good society because, she's breaking these taboos. Like, maidens aren't supposed to care about sex, and she's just into it, right? This is also true for women who prefer dog husbands. They're viewed as like engaging in bestiality because their husbands typically won't transform into a human the way other beastly husbands will. And so this is a big thing. And Kate is just super horny for the entire season.
Yeah.
So she
has like a very breathy way about her whenever she's like too close to him.
Yeah, when she's hot and bothered.
Yeah, like she pulls it off quite well.
Yeah, it's really it's well done. But like, so this is the thing, and there's also this whole emphasis on like Edwina being very young and innocent versus Kate, who is, older, more mature.
Mm-hmm.
She's, the whole idea is she's 26 years old, she's been around, and she doesn't seem that scared by marriage. And so while it's never said aloud, you wonder if she has at least a little bit of experience, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so there's a lot
She
of
also
that.
didn't seem surprised by the
No,
language that
not at all.
Anthony used with the men in that opening,
Yep.
like where she like eavesdropped on
Hmm.
on him, and she didn't like it didn't bother her at all. So she's definitely
Right.
heard worse in her
Yeah, for
times.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So like so I think this is the first thing. The second thing too is that a woman who chooses a beastly husband will often have visible signs of her choice. For example, being covered in mud. And we see
Yeah.
this multiple times with Kate. There's her initial ride, and then remember, she like kind of tries to hide her muddy hem when she comes in. She doesn't want
Mm-hmm.
anyone to know that she's been off. Oh, and that's the other thing I forgot to mention, that Anthony, when they meet, he says, "Does your maid know that you're riding astride?" So like
Yeah.
he even calls out that she's not riding like a lady, and she's
Yeah.
riding astride, which of course is like straight up cowgirl reference. So like, that's the point, is that this is kind of her whole thing. But
Mm-hmm.
so we see it there. And then later, there's the whole sequence where she goes into the mud to get her ball. He
Yeah.
comes in
And
with
he comes
her,
in
and then
and then
they
they're
both fall
stuck and
into the
fall
mud.
and covered
Right.
in mud. Yeah.
Right. And that is an indication of, for both of them, their beastly natures. They are
Mm-hmm.
both beastly spouses because they are covered in mud. They are not
Mm-hmm.
behaving like good, civilized humans. And so this is a whole thing. So yeah, lots of horse husband, and I really, really love that.
Yeah, and I would say it was surprising to me to see how much there was.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that I think
Yeah.
I messaged you. I was like, Marie Claire, this is horse husband. And that was like the very beginning of the season. And then we kept going, and there
Mm-hmm.
was just more and more and
And
more.
there's
I was
more
like,
and more.
oh,
Yeah.
there's a lot in here. This is quite heavy-handed. Yeah, and then so the other big motif that I wanted to call out is hunter huntress motifs. So there's a book by an author named Joseph Fontenrose. It's called Orion, the Myth of the Hunter and the Huntress. And what he did is he kind of did a survey of just hunter huntress myths worldwide and looked at what do they have in common. Is there sort of a hunter huntress monomyth that can be identified? And he did identify one. I've kind of simplified it here. And so what I'm going to do is briefly share the format of this myth. And then as we go through the season, I'm going to point out where this shows up. So, standard myth format for the hunter and huntress is: a son is born to earth or sea or other powerful deities. When grown, he has extraordinary qualities of body, mind, and character. He becomes a skilled hunter, devoted to the chase. He becomes lover and companion of the huntress, a goddess or nymph. He offends the huntress by intruding on her privacy, or by a challenge or boast, or by becoming the lover of another goddess. He offends the
Mm.
gods by his misdeeds. He is punished for his offenses by either the huntress or the gods, or by mortal men. This includes, perhaps he is killed, he is blinded, he is transformed as punishment, or is sent into exile. And then either he or the huntress is tricked. And finally, the huntress or the gods transform him. And this typically happens at dawn, or with a goddess of the dawn, or with a source of light like the sun or fire.
Woo.
So that's a
Look
lot.
at that. That's great.
But
That's great.
yeah, but like, keep all that stuff in mind, because this all shows up throughout the entire season.
So doubling down on what you just said about especially horse husbands, I want to say that Kate, of course, falls into the wild woman archetype, but
Yep.
they themselves are both wild mates, which you see a lot of hunter and sort of running with each other in those
Yes.
motifs. And so I'm referring to, of course, Clarissa Pinkola Estes and Women Who Run with the Wolves. And I made a little joke in my notes saying Women Who Run with the Corgis. because
love
of
it.
Newton. And
Yes!
eventually how we know that Anthony, of course, is the right mate for her is he makes peace with Newton and thus is accepting his wild nature and hers. And that's big for me. I liked it.
Yeah.
It's a small little thing, but it ties into the overall horse husband motifs, the hunter huntress motifs, and ties it all together to say these are our wild mates.
Yeah,
Ooh.
absolutely.
All right, let's talk about lies and wants and needs and the ghost. And the archetypical work that we often reference in our discussions and in our analysis is summarized very expertly by K.M. Wayland. And we tend to rely on her as, you know, our initial review. Sometimes we'll go deeper into similar story or similar analysis like Women Who Run with the Wolves, or we'll, you know, reference Joseph Campbell, or we'll reference Maureen Murdoch to dig a little bit deeper into what she says. But Cam is like a really good resource if you're learning how to become a better writer and what these things mean. So we often reference her, and she has a different book that refers to how to tell what a character is trying to do. And she talks about lies and wants, needs, and the ghost. And I really thought that this was a good way to kind of tie everything we just talked about back together, especially the archetypes, especially how sort of the flow of the story will work. And I'm just going to very briefly talk about what they are, and then we'll dig into the story and kind of call out how these things are happening as we talk through what happens in season 2. So Anthony has a lie. The lie he tells himself that he believes to be true. And it is that romance, soulmateism, soul-changing love is a curse and love is pain. He genuinely believes that it will be nothing but ruin for him. He wants, though, in his mind, just to do his duty. He wants to do, by the start of season 2, he is absolutely set on doing what he needs to do, hell or high water, whether anyone wants it or not, for him to do his duty, which is to get married and to be the Viscount Bridgerton.
Yeah.
But he needs to be loved and accepted for who he is, because he needs to allow the child that was before the tragedy to be accepted and loved for who he is, and bring that child back. Like, not to say that the tragedy needs to be forgotten, but he needs to be able to live again, because he's kind of in this like stuck.
Yeah, he's in a death
phase.
state. This is very common. A lot of times when characters go through something traumatic, often they are in a psychological death state after that. And it's a question of how do you confront and cope with that tragedy in order to build a life afterwards. And that's what he needs to do.
And usually if they're in a death state, we find them in a shadow archetype, because that is the same thing. Like being in a shadow archetype where you're not growing, you're only causing pain and destruction or trauma to others, is because you're in a psychological death. These shadow archetypes reflect this psychological death that's happening to these characters. And oftentimes the lie is formed because of a ghost that haunts them. And so we tie back to this archetypical phase that both Kate and Anthony are in, being driven by fear. And the ghost is his father's death, but more importantly, his mother's reaction to that death, the depression that she experienced, how she seemed dead to him.
Yep.
And even though she has gotten better, she has healed from that, he never got over that. It was like a trauma to him, and he almost has like a post-traumatic stress disorder around it.
Like witnessing her grief for him was almost worse than the actual loss of his father. Like it's very clear repeatedly, like over and over again, that what kind of drives so much of his psychology was watching her grieve And it really, really, it scared him. That's why he's so terrified of love, is he watched this happen and he's like, I don't want that.
Yep.
He's like, I don't ever want that. Yeah.
And so that forms this lie. The ghost forms the lie, right? Whatever is the thing that is haunting them forms this lie they believe to be true. And so oftentimes the conflict that you have in this season for Anthony is this struggle between romance is bad, but I must do my duty.
Yeah, right. Right.
And so
exactly.
he finds this like narrow path that he's trying to walk between. Well, what if I get married and never fall in love? Well, then I get everything I want.
I know.
Yeah.
Profit.
All right. And so let's move on to Kate. So Kate's lie is that money will solve all our problems and it doesn't matter what happens to her.
Yep.
Her want is for her sister to find love for herself. And so again, like Anthony's like, I can find this beautiful balance between not getting married just for convenience. It doesn't have to mean anything. Hers is, I want my sister to marry for money and love. And so she's very particular about that and doesn't believe that what Anthony very clearly says he wants to do his duty, but also not to fall in love because love means nothing, that Anthony can give that to Edwina. Her truth is very similar to Anthony's, that she absolutely needs to be loved and she needs to be able to have her needs of the child before her father's death fulfilled, that she has taken on too much responsibility onto herself. And that's because the ghost, of course, is her father's death, her mother being disconnected from caring for Edwina and Kate, and her personal struggles in making that happen. And so she views, much like many people, that money will solve all of her problems, right? The lie is born of the ghost.
Yeah. And within family systems, many people probably know this, but I think it's worth calling out. This is called parentification. And it's very common when actual parents, are in some way unavailable, whether they are physically unavailable, emotionally unavailable, whatever. If they are really not able to meet the needs of the children, it's not unusual for one of the children, typically the oldest, but not always, to be parentified, which means that they sort of become a miniature parent and they take on this parental role, which is not for them. And what it does is actually kind of stunts their childhood. They're not allowed to have a childhood because they have to be this parent. And both Kate and Anthony have experienced that. And so they are struggling because they're so focused on what they owe to their families that they have decided that their own desires do not matter.
Yeah, exactly. And so this leads us into talking about the season. And the lies especially are the formation of how our characters end up in good society, in the Ton, in London at that time. Kate is seeking a husband for her sister. There's some lies in there, of course. And Anthony, of course, is seeking to do his duty. That is his want. The lie, of course, overcomes everything else. It tempers everything else with how they go about things and instead of just letting things happen.
Right.
We're introduced to, of course, Anthony and Kate with the horse ride.
Yes.
And my God, Kate looked beautiful.
Oh, I just want to be clear. Simone Ashley is freaking gorgeous. Everyone on this show in all seasons is so pretty.
Yeah.
But, oh my gosh, I really think she's gorgeous. I really do. So and they just
cast so well.
Yeah, they cast so well. So that's fantastic. So it's a great sequence. It's really fun. It's a terrific start for them. And of course, I've always loved this sort of meeting where we don't know the other one's identity. And then of course later they discover the identity, and that's just fantastic. That's always great. Because that's a very common start for many characters who are in some ways going to be at odds, is to have an initial meeting where they have a very clear instantaneous affinity for one another because there's nothing in the way, right? They're not in society, so there's no societal expectations they're dealing with. They're not around other people. They don't have to perform for anyone. They don't know one another's identity or status or anything. And so they're able to just immediately meet on the same level. And so it's a very common and really excellent start to a lot of these romances.
We also see that Anthony himself is spending time with prostitutes or women he pays for sex. He is also overwhelmed with the business of the day, right?
Yes.
So like we see, it's like a montage of him like finding release and then working through all the paperwork.
Yeah,
like, that's
like
how he's introduced.
Well, it's introduced as like, this is the business of being Viscount, right? It's very much like, sir, you have to sign this. My lord, you have to take care of these accounts. You have blah, blah, blah. It's all of this like work. And so that's very important, is that this idea that he's kind of crushed under the weight of it all. I also want to mention that in this first episode, we get these kind of like these initial stages of the hunter-huntress myth. So we have, of course, the son is born to a powerful family, that when he's grown, he is extraordinary. And then he becomes a skilled hunter devoted to the chase. So in this case, the chase is his pursuit of a bride, right? He's searching for a bride. He's got a list. He's got requirements, a checklist he's going through. And as he meets these women, he asks them very pointed questions and then crosses them off his list. He's very so this is his thing. He's literally like hunting for a bride. And then, of course, when he goes out and finds Kate, then he's sort of hunting her and
chasing her,
right, he's chasing after her. And this is very common, is like, she's also the huntress, and so he is now chasing the huntress. He encounters her in the forest. This is very common as well, as the idea of like encountering the huntress in the forest. And so they kind of set up that whole story right here in the beginning.
I also want to call out that he has become capable as being the Viscount in ways that he was not in the first season.
Yes.
Specifically, he goes and says, okay, we'll add money to the accounts for the modiste, and we'll make sure Eloise is prepared. And he's there in time for all of the introductions and all of the things that is his responsibility that he was late for in the first season.
Exactly. And that's really important, because in the first, and the funny thing is, I actually think the change to his facial hair kind of makes that point too, because like in the first season, he's got like the big sideburns, and so he just looks a little messier. And this season, he's just like, he's much more clean shaven. He's just a lot more buttoned up. And so it's this whole idea of like, he sort of, last season, he was very reluctant. To your point, he didn't even live at home, right? He lived in the apartment that he kept across town.
Yep.
And all this other stuff, like, so all of that kind of stuff. And now he is living in the house. He's the Viscount. He's in charge. He's the one that leads everyone out the door when it's time to go somewhere. He's really stepped into that role.
He stepped into that role. Yeah. And so we have the arrival of Kate, Edwina, and Lady Mary, who are at the sponsorship, or using the sponsorship of Lady Danbury, our fave.
Oh my gosh.
To be introduced into society and the marriage mart. And of course, Lady Danbury likes a challenge, has a lot of respect for Lady Mary, and so wants to help out. But it's interesting because Lady Danbury is almost like this bullshit detector of Kate the whole time that they're in any scene. And she doesn't like Newton, and she doesn't like the wild woman aspects of Kate. But she can kind of like ignore those, because it's not Kate she's trying to find a suitor for. It is Edwina, who is perfect in everybody's mind. She's the pure, perfect younger daughter.
Well, and there's also an emphasis on how Lady Danbury is riding high on the success of the previous season.
Yes,
she takes credit, she and Violet, for getting Daphne and the Duke together. And so she's feeling really good about that and everything. And so she's stoked to do this for Edwina because she's just like, all right, round 2, here we go. Like, she can't wait to be part of this matchmaking again. And what's really fun about this season is it very much blows up in her face.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And also the queens, too, because the queen is also kind of along the
right. Mm-hmm.
The queen also takes sort of some credit for
yes, exactly,
as well. It all comes to a head in the introductions and sort of missing each other and sort of seeing each other, in that Edwina is going to be chosen as the diamond. But before that happens, we have this scene where Anthony outwardly expresses both his lie and his want to the bros at the ball.
Yep.
He's like, yeah, what, just gotta hang my my stuff somewhere. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't really matter.
I think he specifically says wed, bed, and bread.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's literally just like, I just need to get it done.
Yeah,
like,
just gotta get it done.
He does not care.
Yeah, and she's like, okay, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And she's in the woods or next to a bush, right?
Yeah.
So she again is in nature versus him, and is being full wild woman in her presentation. But it all comes to a shocking situation when Edwina is chosen as the diamond through some coercing on Lady Danbury's perspective. And thus Anthony's like, well, she's obviously the best. Yeah. So she fits the bill.
Right. What's funny is the way that, like, they dance together. They have a really brief conversation. And by the end of the conversation, he's already, like, ready to propose. He's like, yeah, cool. Where's your dad? And she's like, oh, no, you have to talk to my sister. And he's like, oh, sister. And then he sees Kate and he's like, oh, no.
Oh, no. What have I done?
Yeah, exactly. Side note, though, I do love the way that first ball where she overhears him. The music for that ball is Material Girl.
Oh, perfect.
Which is like my favorite. I love it. It's so good. So actually, like, I mean, the music's always great in the show, but like some of the choices for this season are just spot on. So good.
We get into episode 2, which is the courtship begins, of course, because Edwina was chosen as like the diamond of the season. She's got like a lineup of suitors, and Kate's like, I want to give her time to fall in love, and like doing all of the want aspects of it, but also like, who's a good choice. So it's like Lady Danbury and her seem to be allies in this because they also want to find like a good, wealthy match and all of those things. So courtship begins. Anthony essentially uses trickery this whole episode to get in, to find ways to show up where they are, to do what he needs to do. And it just enhances the belligerent sexual tension between Kate and Anthony, because they literally fight. Whenever they have an opportunity, they're like picking at each other and like just like the snide little comments.
Yeah, constantly. It's just like, well, and I like the way that like Edwina and like the other guy kind of look at each other like, do we separate them? I mean, like, I think it's all in good fun, but like, they're kind of freaked out. They're like, what do we do with these two?
And we have like sort of 2 major big scenes that happen. We have the horse race and we have the poetry. And the horse race is great because I love how Anthony's like, we're all going to the races. Like, I need my family. I need the army, like I need the Bridgertons.
Like, well, he even said United Front, I think, doesn't he? So he's like, we need to all be there. Like,
but he engages again with trickery because he's this bully. He's this aggressive version of himself that is like, I can't win through normal means because obviously she's going to be in the way. Kate is going to be in the way. So he has to trick her and bring in a friend to try and distract her.
Yeah, and even the whole thing with his family, like, he's not even there to like spend time with them or pay attention to them. He just is using them as like, window dressing to show off to Edwina. Like, look, I'm so close to my family, but he's like, not really.
They're like way over there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. So it's just like, it's really funny. It's it's so interesting. And of course, Kate sees through his BS very quickly, and
yes,
he just digs himself a deeper hole. Yeah.
And the poetry reading happens. He's uninvited.
Yes. Yeah.
Which
he's
like
not welcome.
It bothers him a lot. I really love the poetry reading because it's so funny, because everyone's like, I can't do poetry, so I'm going to do magic or whatever.
Yes.
It's really great. But Anthony,
the whole thing with Benedict, I love that.
Yeah, and he goes to Benedict, and this is maybe one of the scenes I love Benedict in the most, because again, Benedict I struggle with a little bit, although rewatching season 3, I've enjoyed him more because of the setup for season 4. So we'll get to there eventually with Sophie when we actually get to record on that. But I love what Benedict says about poetry is the art of revealing precious truths with words.
Yes. It's amazing.
It's so beautiful because Benedict has this like artistic soul that is trying to find its muse. That is the key about Benedict. He is wandering about trying to find his muse.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
But Anthony's like it's like he has a 404 error. Like he's like, but everything I've built is based on a house of cards, a house of lies. Like, what do you mean? So write me a poem, Benedict.
Yeah. Well, it's like he goes in with the intent to lie again. Like he literally just got busted for lying, and he's going to go do it again. And what's interesting is that then at the moment that he decides that he can't lie or he shouldn't lie, what's fascinating about that is before he tells Edwina the truth, he looks at Kate. He looks at Kate
twice and basically can't continue on with the lies.
Yeah.
Which is such good visual storytelling. Show us, don't tell us. Like,
I just in general, by the way, I know, like, let's take a really brief detour here. that femgaze feeling camera is doing hard work this whole season.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Because you know what every character is thinking, because the camera knows who to focus on and when. In fact, there are scenes I've noticed where like the speaker is not the focus.
It's focused on the person who's listening. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's very common in this season. Yeah.
And the reactions to what they're saying are just as important. And yeah, when we don't get transformation enough in a show, not Bridgerton, but in a show where we feel like we're not getting enough transformation for characters, it's usually because they don't actually focus on the emotionality of the characters. Yeah. You don't see them emote as much. And
right. Things happen, but you don't get to see its impact on the characters.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so like so they work hard on that. And there are so many shots throughout this entire season and the show in general, but like especially this season, where no one's talking. No one's talking because we're focused on the facial expressions, and you can see exactly how someone feels.
There's a lot of over the shoulder shots too.
Yes.
Of the person. The person who's talking is the shoulder. Yeah. Not the person. And you see the reaction of the it's beautiful. It's
really well done.
It's really well done. So this actually wraps with Edwina really appreciating his truth. Because she herself is like, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Why would I want you to be something other than what you are? Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, because Edwina has no subterfuge. She's not projecting a version of herself, which is not true. Right. She is very sincere. And so she responds well to sincerity in other people.
Exactly. So the Sharmas are invited to the Bridgerton estate ahead of the Bridgerton ball that Violet throws every year. And so this is an opportunity for, of course, Kate and Mary, Lady Danbury, and the Bridgertons to get to know one another. And Edwina's like, yep, this is my chance for Kate and Anthony to stop hating each other, when really they've already they're super duper attracted to each other because they are each other. That is the key, right? Yeah. And so even like the whole Pall Mall game is beautiful because
my gosh, I love it.
It reveals not only Anthony's truth, like his own character. He wants to be a child again, but it also reveals that Kate just wants to be like able to be herself. Right? So a little bit of a different like thing, like, but she wants to be able to be good at things. She wants to be able to horse ride. She wants to be able to hunt. She wants to be able to play pall-mall with the best mallet out there.
The mallet of death.
The mallet of death. Yeah.
I also really love Daphne finally shows up here.
Oh, yeah.
And it's great. Oh, my. Honestly, Daphne is one of my favorite inclusions in this season because they did not have to bring her back because for anyone who doesn't know, Regé-Jean Page, basically left the show after season 1. He just said, I'm good. That was enough for me. And he kind of moved on. And so we don't get to look in on the Duke and the Duchess in subsequent seasons. We really only get Daphne back, and they have to make excuses for why Simon's not around. Or sometimes they just ignore the fact that he's not around when it doesn't make sense, but that's okay. But she's there. And so you get the benefit of several different things. One, you get all the siblings together, which is always fun. Anytime you have all the siblings together, it's a good time. So there's that. Then you also get Daphne comes in now with this outside perspective because
she's been through her trials,
right?
And now
exactly.
She's fully in a queen phase.
Exactly, very much so, and she's interesting too because, like, for Anthony this season, she's really a goddess because she's there. She's giving him the benefit of her wisdom, her experience, her insight, and she's looking at him and seeing the truth pretty clearly from the jump, like she even mistakes Kate for Edwina at first because she hears like, oh, this woman who's captured my brother's heart sees him with Kate and is like, oh, hi, Miss Edwina. And he's like, no.
No, not her.
Yeah, not her.
Not her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's really great. I also just like getting to see kind of feisty Daphne back because, she runs the full gamut. She's very damsel-y in the first season, but she has her feisty moments. And in this, it's really great because she's there. She's like, I'm here to kick y'all's asses. Like,
yeah. I brought my son and he's going to sit over there with grandmas and I'm going to be here kicking your butts.
Exactly. Yep. It's great.
What's great about this episode is that through flashbacks, we see the appearance of the ghost.
Yes.
The ghost that I talked about, the death of the father and the reaction of his mother. And because Kate understands it so much, we see hers too.
Yes. Right? Yeah, it's not necessary to show hers because it's the same.
Because it's the same, the death of the father and the reaction of the mother. And so we get this through flashbacks, through visiting the grave, through the bee sting, as the episode progresses. And it just literally draws them closer together because first they're like, it starts with like touch. He's touching her shoulder. He shows her how to shoot the gun. Or no, like the hunting happens later. Sorry.
Yeah, that's later, but that's okay.
But like in the mud fight, and he does the hand, and then the hand to the chest with the bee sting is like the step up from that, and he basically like has his hand over top of her heart.
Yes.
Where the bee sting is to like, you can feel my heartbeat. I'm fine.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing is, all the acting in this show is so good, but like especially in this sequence, like I haven't read this particular book, but my understanding is that, it's a little goofier in the book.
He attempts to suck out
it out. Right. Exactly. So it's a little, and I feel like what they did in this is like, he does a very believable panic attack. Firstly, like he really looks like he's about to pass out. Like he's so freaked out, and you just feel so terrible for him, especially because again, they built up to it with all those flashbacks where you understand how absolutely traumatizing this was for him. And so, to then have him kind of confronted with what he thinks is the imminent loss of her, it's it's just a really well done scene. But it is a turning point for them because after this, up to this point, they've both been in denial, I think, about their feelings. And after this, you see, even though they're not showing it to other people, to one another, they've kind of stopped denying their feelings. Like,
yeah, there's something, and it happens mainly in the next episode, but they every time they're like, no, we can't do this, or I don't like you, they move closer together. It's like sort of like magnets. Like it's really
very much
fun. And like, so moving on to like episode 4, when the rest of everybody arrives for the ball and for everything that happens, we have the hunting party where Edwin is like, yeah, take Kate.
Yes.
Again, more of the wild woman work, that's happening. She is, of course, the horsewife, because she's willing to get all dirty, and she has the maid that's following along, that's riding side saddle, and she's like, nah, I'm good.
and where we are on sort of the hunter huntress motif right now as well. So we already had, again, by their initial meeting in episode 1 was sort of, he becomes the lover and companion of the huntress. So even though it was not official, that was like the moment they fell in love, basically. And so that he is her lover now. But then the next stage is he offends the huntress. So this is him offending Kate. And how does he do that? 1, by intruding on her privacy. So this was kind of like his, he's done it several times, really. He always seems to come upon her when she's alone, and she gets pissed about it. And then you have by a challenge or boast. You see this several different ways. One, of course, is his boast about how he's going to find this bride, and she gets pissed off. But the other two then is in this one when he's like, yeah, we're going to go hunting, but ladies don't hunt. And she's like, excuse me? And this is a very common way in mythology to offend a huntress, is by suggesting that you have greater prowess than she does. Guaranteed way to get yourself in trouble.
Like you think of like, there are so many feminine huntresses in mythology. Like it is considered to be a feminine thing.
Absolutely.
So in mythology.
Right. So so he pissed off the huntress by basically suggesting he was a better hunter than she is. And so then the last way that he offends the huntress is by becoming the lover of another goddess. And this, of course, is him courting her sister. Like it she is encouraging it, at the same time it offends her, right?
Yeah.
And so he is offending her through all of these means. And that's where we are in the story, and why when they go hunting together, they are both sort of having this moment where they are coming closer, and at the same time
she's mad at him,
fighting, right? Yeah, they're at odds.
I also think that this, like him challenging what she's allowed to have, does something for Kate, which is that it reinforces that she actually does have needs and wants to have love and value for what she wants to be able to do. So being able to hunt, being able to live her life, being able to do things that are not just, becoming a governess, she has things she wants to do, but she has trouble admitting those out loud beyond just her own dreams for herself.
It's also really notable. Yeah. It's also really notable they don't actually successfully get the deer.
Yeah.
Which is saying something, because, of course, in the flashback with Edmund, he did actually take down the buck. And in this one, they go hunting together. They find the deer, but they don't successfully bring it down. And it's because they're not being honest. They're not being honest about their desires. And so because of that, they cannot successfily make the kill. So
let's talk about the library. So Kate is unable to sleep because of the storm outside. And the storm, of course, is symbolic of the heat.
The storm inside.
The two of them, and the unresolved things that they're not willing to talk about. And so she seeks out the place by which her father would have met her to comfort her, the library. And Anthony, goes and be like, this is my father's library. So we have that instant like soulmateism again of like, this is where they are connected. And Anthony, through the course of like all of their denials, I hate you. But yeah, they get closer and closer and closer, actually does call out his own lie in telling Kate her lie.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? Like you want to be with me, but that's not actually her lie. She wants her sister to, like, the money will solve everything. He is calling out his own lie by saying her lie, or like what he thinks is her lie.
Yeah.
And so because Kate doesn't react, doesn't come to meet him where he is at, he ends up like tripping up a little bit, realizing that he's actually in danger when he speaks with Daphne after, and he doubles down on the lie.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Well, and Daphne is, again, she's challenging him. And I like that she also calls him out on how is this any different from last year? She's like, you literally did the same thing to me. What is your problem? Like, I like that she's just in his face about it. Also, I really love her, frankly, chugging some scotch or whatever it is that she does right now. She's just like
I'm too old for this.
I know, yeah. It's so funny.
But it's only been a year, but
I know
look how much I've grown, and look at you.
Yeah, what's wrong with him? Yes, it's so great. Yeah, so it's really excellent. But yeah, so they have this really intense moment, and then he basically kind of panics and is like, okay, I have to just
switch to being a coward.
Right. I have to stick to the plan. And the plan is marry Edwina. So he proposes.
And this is the switch to him being a coward. And we see him be a coward for much of the rest of the show.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, how can you tell a story with only negative archetypes? Well, here it is.
Yep. Yep.
So this is what I call like the start of the second act. The first act was super long, but it was a lot of setup and a lot of different things that are happening. And it's basically Anthony is engaged to the wrong woman.
Yep.
I.e., everybody thinks they're getting what they want, but nobody actually is getting what they need. Nobody is.
No one. Yeah, not even the people that are determined, that this is ideal. Yeah.
Yeah. So we start with episode 5, which is like the engagement going as planned. We have the boating party and we have the dinner party with the Sheffields. Let's talk about the boating party. So Anthony's like, oh, let's get along. Like we've both made our decisions to do this.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's fine. And Kate's like, yep, so I'm going to go to India. And he's like, wait, what?
Yeah. Wait, huh? You're going far away? Who said you could do that?
And even bringing the guy from the race to be like, here's a guy who could like, maybe you get married to him and then, you're around me, but like you're married to him. Like he has this like mini plan in his head. You can see it, but they never talk about it out loud, obviously. But he definitely had a plan. He definitely had a plan.
He's looking for ways to keep her there.
Yeah.
Especially when he does see her with the guy, because he doesn't overhear it, but what they're talking about is how she's going to go back and live in India by herself, and he's going to come visit her. And so it's like,
and they're having like a good conversation, and Anthony is steaming. Like he's upset. He's like, jealous. Like
yes. Actually, the jealousy in that whole sequence is super fun because it's both of them, really. Obviously she's jealous of Edwina, and then he of course is jealous of this guy, and so he ends up coming over and being like, you didn't tie that note right, or that knot right, and so then he wants to help Kate out of the boat, which of course means they get another like touching scene. Yeah. And then he tumbles into the water.
And it's a wet t-shirt contest for him.
It's amazing. I love it. I don't know. See, but that's why this is such
so
a fun
femgaze.
Show.
It's so great.
So femgaze.
It's so great. And then Edwina and Kate are just like, oh my God, he's so attractive.
I know.
Like, yeah, it's great. And then we have the reveal of the lie for Kate through the dinner party with the Sheffields.
Yep. Yeah, which is intense. If you've ever actually had a really deeply uncomfortable dinner with family like that, it's very familiar, and it's
anytime money's involved. Oh my God.
Oh, it's awful. It was rough, especially because like the whole like the mother in particular is like so bitter that she just can't, like the rest of them are trying to change the subject and she just can't let it go.
She just can't. No. And just shout out to Anthony Stewart Head, who of course is from Buffy and had been in Merlin, and as well as Ted and Ted Lasso. And he plays such a good jerk. He plays the best freaking villains. It was like after Giles, he was like, I'm never going to play a good character, a goody two shoes ever again. And
that's enough.
Nonstop evil dudes. The worst men in society. But he must have, I hear he's a wonderful human. So.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
but yeah, like, so Lady Mary's parents are awful. And to her credit, she stands up to them. She, just gets pissed and she's like, no. She's like, you're not going to shame me for this. I'm not accepting it and whatever. And of course, Kate is just so struck because up to this point, she's only ever known her mother as being afraid of her parents. And so she's never seen her do this. And she really had no idea that her mother could be this strong. Again, it's very clear that Kate views her mother as delicate. And through the course of this season, she comes to realize the strength that her mother really does have. And so, and that is what allows her to step out of that, parentified eldest daughter role and be her own person, is because she realizes, oh, my mother's not this kind of like, like wilting flower anymore. Like she's actually strong.
She's going to be okay without me.
She's going to be okay without me. Yeah. Exactly. And so this is kind of the first moment that she really sees that. So that's really important. And then Anthony steps in, and again, as part, not just because he's so deeply offended by how they're treating Kate and Edwina and the family, but also because, again, he has stepped into this role of like, I am the Viscount. I am a man of society. This is my role, and these are the rules we live by, and I don't accept this kind of behavior. And so he just shuts it down and kicks them out.
Yep.
And it's hot.
It's great. Yeah.
Yep. It's great. So
but this gives him the opportunity to break off the wedding.
Right. It's a way out.
It's a way out. And he wants to use it. He legitimately is like, I'm not happy. Nobody's happy. He's starting to like struggle with the lie. Because once the lie is revealed, it starts to just wilt and fall apart. Right. But his lie was revealed long ago, but he still got engaged.
Yeah.
But Kate's lie is now revealed, and he's like, okay, let's figure this all out. And she's unwilling to, because she's still trying to piece it back together.
Well, because Edwina has told her that she is in love with Anthony. And so she is, and here again, keep in mind, Kate is projecting all of her own feelings and desires onto Edwina. So when Edwina says, I'm in love with Anthony, even though that's not actually true because Edwina doesn't really know what love is, Kate believes it because Kate is in love with Anthony.
Oh, yeah. It's totally believable that you would be in love with Anthony.
She's like, of course you're in love with him. I know, exactly. Yeah. So the thing is that like Kate doesn't want to see Edwina jilted because Kate is putting herself in Edwina's position and going, well, I would be crushed. So surely Edwina will be crushed, and I can't let that happen to her. So she becomes absolutely desperate for Anthony to follow through and marry her, even though it's actually not what she wants, but she has convinced herself that it's what Edwina wants.
And what's super interesting is that this also comes at a time by which Queen Charlotte is feeling the pressure to actually perform in her goddessly duties.
Right.
In her, like, I control love in the Ton. I control love in good society. And so it's all of these expectations and desires and wants all coming together. Like, it's everybody's wants being like, we're going to make this work, and
we're going to force it.
This thing is hanging by a thread, but we're going to make it work. And it doesn't, because it's not what actually everybody needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the wedding episode, it's interesting because every time I rewatch the season, I go, I don't know how they made this work because it's the whole episode is the wedding. There's nothing else. There's nothing. And so that's a full hour of wedding content, and yet it is compelling. There's no part of it that feels slow or boring. It is a really good episode.
There's lots of movement and change and transformation and struggle, and like we get like a great moment with the queen and the king. Oh,
I love it. That's so good because it foreshadows the Queen Charlotte so very well. And speaking of which, I do want to briefly mention we have said before our sort of like teaser for our Queen Charlotte episode is that it is a Star Bride story. And so Charlotte is the celestial bride, George is the man of the earth. And so what's interesting is that when he does come rushing into the room and he's like, did you see them? Did you see them? And he's referring to the fireworks.
Fireworks, yeah.
The fireworks are like stars in this case. He's always looking up. He's always looking up at the skies, at the heavens. This is what he does. And then, of course, he comes in and he's like, look at my beautiful bride. So he's looking at her again. She is Venus. She is his like celestial bride. So it's just really amazing the way that they do set all that up.
They knew what they were doing.
They knew what they were doing
in the first season, and man, do I love an intentional storytelling experience.
It's so good.
Like, it's so good to see. It does okay. It feels like they knew what they were going to do with all of the books probably before they even started writing the first script.
I think that they definitely had a solid outline, and I think that they've probably adapted a few things as they've gone. But I do think that they've had a fairly clear picture of what they wanted to do. Yeah.
It definitely feels like they're going to maybe do more Bridgerton stories if they can. Like I could see
I
them
think
doing
they'll
a
give
Violet
us
one.
Yes, exactly. I think they're going to give us Violet and Edmund at some point.
Yeah.
I certainly hope so. I would be really excited for that. But yeah, so this, and the other thing about this sequence is it is a turning point for Edwina, because up to that point, when she realizes Kate and Anthony's attraction to one another, and she's so upset, she's just infuriated, understandably. And it's not just that she feels betrayed because they fell in love and she didn't realize. It's also because she realizes at that point how much Kate has infantilized her. And she's,
I think it's important to talk about Edwina in the maiden archetype, because she's actually in a positive change maiden archetype like change. And
especially in this episode is her shifting from
is the shift
to hero.
Maiden to hero. And Anthony is actually the predator for Edwina because he is using her and wants to get married to her, but wants to use her for his own power. And that is dark union. That is what we see when especially the patriarchy wants to use a feminine person for their own need. And if that happens, then you end up with a monster woman at some point, right?
Right.
So a woman that is used by the patriarchy or by a predator ends up being used up and will become something of a skeleton woman or a monster wife, potentially to heal. It's important that there's two antagonists in the maiden phase, the predator and society.
Yes.
And so Edwina is fighting against both Kate and Anthony and also the entire court's expectations. And by saying no, I have a voice. I am myself. I get to choose what I want at the end of the episode. It is actually her advancing herself and saying, I can tell what I want for myself. And when you see that, it's always so powerful.
It's amazing. And that was what really struck me on this rewatch was like, yes, of course, the romance is incredible. But I actually think that all of the characters are so sensitively and deftly treated in this season. And I think that they all have extraordinary journeys. You see growth. It's just really wonderful. And I love that Edwina, even though she kind of comes across at first as like this kind of clueless ingenue, like that she really kind of steps into her own. And so she's really wonderful in this episode. But it is that moment when she kind of, because up to that point, again, she's just kind of in her rage, right? And that sense of betrayal. But when she sees the king and the queen together and she, encourages the king to return and has the conversation with the queen who tells her basically kind of her philosophy on love and how everyone deserves love and all has to find it for themselves and everything. What she ultimately decides is I deserve real love, not someone else's idea of love, not, a fake love or a pretend love, like real love. And so, so she's able to make that decision for herself and walk away. And it's a really great thing for that character.
It really is.
So, yeah.
We enter into the third act, which is no one has what they want or need, and thus it causes the end crisis and all is lost moment at the end.
Yeah.
Near the end. Yeah.
And again, back to the Hunter-Huntress myth. So we talked about how he had offended the huntress and all the ways that he offended the huntress. But what he does then is he actually offends the gods. And so his betrayal of Edwina is his offending the gods. And the gods in this case is society. It is all of the Ton. So then it says he is punished for his offenses either by the huntress or the gods or by mortal men. So in this case, they are shunned. They're out there promenading and everyone is ignoring them and giving them the cut. No one is, like they are on the outs. Right. And this is the first time this has ever happened to the Bridgertons. The Bridgertons are the cream of society, and now everyone's ignoring them.
Yeah.
The punishment there's a lot of different things. So he is psychically dead. He is transformed. He is in exile, basically, at this point.
Yep.
And
but I think this is the first time we see him actually on a positive change arc as the hero, which is cool because that often happens with a rebirth. You die and then you're like, oh, I get to actually grow from here.
Right.
I get to refigure out who I am, and this is when we get wonderful moments with Gregory and Hyacinth and him sort of coming to terms with everything that's going on in his life and how he's basically put priority on the wrong things this whole time.
Yeah, and acknowledging that what he tried to do did not work. That he failed. And so he has that really sad, interaction with his mother where he's like, you need me to say I failed? Fine, I failed. And he's miserable. Poor guy is just a mess because here he was the powerful Viscount who was going to go, do his duty, and he made a mess of everything. And so he's just not in good shape. So yeah, it's bad for him. It's bad for the kingdom. There's sort of malaise everywhere. And then the sort of final thing that happens before the rebirth in the Hunter-Huntress myth is that they are tricked by someone. And in this case, the someone is Lady Whistledown. And it's not so much trickery as much as she kicks them while they're down because they think they're going to be able to recover their reputation with this ball.
And then she's like, nope, Eloise.
Yeah, right.
you're a radical.
Exactly. And then she reveals Eloise's exploits, and now it's worse than ever, right? And so it's only at this lowest possible moment where all of the plans and everything everything that they thought they could do, Kate and Anthony, it's just in shambles. And that they have this, and he has this line about what if we finally did something for ourselves? Stop living for everybody else and mucking it up and just do something for yourself.
And we see the Bridgertons dance anyways at the ball.
Yes, I love that.
Kate and Anthony have the best sex scene in the backyard.
Which always makes me laugh. What? Nobody else went back there? What?
I guess not.
I guess not.
Somebody bribed the servants.
I know how small those backyards are. Someone was definitely looking over the wall, but whatever.
Whatever. And then, of course, this leads to the crisis where all is lost in Anthony's mind, where he goes to propose. He has made up his mind. He's actually sure of what he needs. And he goes, and she is off riding because she is not sure what she wants or needs.
Right.
And she feels like he has fallen victim to her.
Yep.
They're both dumb.
Yeah, they're both very dumb. Yes.
And he chases after her. Horse husbands!
Yes, horse husband!
Horse husband! He chases after her, but she falls because she can't make the jump because it's raining and all of the drama associated with that. And yes, this is his worst fear. She is on death's door. All is lost. And he is like, it's all my fault. He feels that guilt all over again about his father, about his mother, about what his mother must have been going through. He experiences a micro version
like
of
a version of
did.
it. Yeah. And he's so like, his version of course is different. Like when, she just kind of retreated and was just like, not functional when Edmund died, but when Kate is basically comatose, he is snapping at the whole family. Like he bites all their heads off and they all leave. He's alone.
A bully. He becomes a bully again. He becomes this like very aggressive, angry horse.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Biting at any hand that will attempt to feed him.
Yeah, exactly. So he snaps at all of them and they all walk out. Even his mother, she's done with him too. She's just like, I can't take you anymore. She pities him, but she's also like, nah, you got to figure this out. So it's an important moment for him. But then Kate wakes up and again is still kind of lying to herself. She thinks, I just got to stick with the plan. I just got to go back to India as fast as I can. And he even calls her out on it. He says, you're running away. But she's so focused on him not really loving her. She thinks that he just feels like he owes her because they had sex. And it's like, that's what leads to the conversation with her mother, which is the one where I bawl. Oh my gosh, Marie Claire, I cried at this scene. I always cry at this scene, but I definitely cry because her mother is like, why would you ever think that love is something that is owed? Right? And so it's so important that she hears that.
And so that breaks her own like wants, lies, all of that. It breaks it apart finally, similar to how Anthony also hears from his mother that she would do it all over again with an opportunity. When Violet comes in and says, oh, she's recovering, and he breaks down and starts to cry like on the couch. Oh my God, I love that scene too.
I cried at that one too. Yeah, I cried at both of these.
It breaks down and is like, honey, like, given the chance, knowing that I was gonna be faced with all this pain, I would still do it all over again.
Yeah,
and that's when he like goes over there and calls her out and says like I want you to marry me, woman. They all go to the Featherington ball. They were all invited because Lady Featherington was feeling
wants to show off. Yeah,
super generous.
Yes,
and then I love dancing in Bridgerton because it's much like fight scenes in like Star Wars, right? It's all about emotional resolution.
Right, absolutely.
And they decide, like Edwina and Kate dance together to start, like, who cares what anybody thinks? We live by our own rules. We're allowed to want what we want or have what we need actually happen for us. And then Anthony comes and dances with her and just is like, let's just live for ourselves. Let's just do it. Let's just
because everyone leaves the dance floor because they're still being shunned. And that's when he's like, look at me, no one else matters. And that's such an important moment. And then the queen, as the goddess of love, blesses their union by saying like, oh, they make a handsome couple. Why isn't anyone else dancing? And then everyone else goes out there and dances. So it's like, it's this moment of that the gods have blessed their union. Yeah. And so now
everybody is healed and the kingdom is back being happy again.
Yes, exactly. So then they have that final, like, where they both admit, they actually say the words, I love you, which I think is always so important. I think that's really critical in these stories. And And they like they have this beautiful moment toward the end. I also want to mention, typically the final resolution, final transformation of the hunter huntress is in the sunrise or in the sun or a source of light. It's always something like that. And that happens actually twice for them. So one was that morning ride where they met, not even just the first one, but also then at the midpoint where she begs him to, marry Edwina or whatever. Like that was a dawn moment where they're very honest with one another.
And when she falls is also a dawn.
And when she falls is dawn. Right. Although that's, stormier, which is different. But their final scene together, they are outdoors playing Pall Mall, it's bright sun shining and everything, and they're sort of illuminated by the sun, and it's just really, it's a really critical moment, and it was deliberate, because compare that to like the final scene for Simon and Daphne, and it was the birth of their first child, which is because they required a totally different resolution. It's not the same. So it's really important to see all that, how deliberate it is. Really beautiful. Loved
so
it.
Thoughtful, amazing storytelling, wonderful stuff. It was great.
I love it. So then I think we're going to talk about some of the other characters briefly, just to mention them.
Yeah, we're going to go through the Bridgerton family in order, just to be like, where are you at in your story, friend?
What are they up to?
What you doing? We, of course, have Benedict, who is... his biggest desire is actually to be accepted for his skill in art, and thus is accepted into the art institute that he applies for, not knowing that Anthony being Anthony this season has just donated a whole bunch of money to make sure he gets in.
Yep.
Regardless of what his peers say that he could have gotten in on his own, it's enough that he immediately quits.
Yeah. Right.
So I suspect that part of his transformation will be embracing his art again.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a high probability that we get kind of a Titanic drawing moment in the next season.
Draw me like one of your French girls.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think she could be full on buck ass nude.
Probably.
Yeah. I also, so there's like a cabin scene in that book.
Yes.
And that's like his secret hideaway. I personally think that's where his art is going to be. I don't think he does art in the book. I'm trying to remember.
She discovers his drawings in the book.
Okay.
But it's like really not emphasized as much.
Yeah.
I would actually argue it's emphasized less than Penelope discovering Colin's writing.
Right.
So it's like, it's weird to me they did that. I will say they have really, spent all the seasons so far building up, to your point, his artistic soul and his search for his muse. So I think they have to resolve that with him ultimately, finding some artistic expression that satisfies him.
He's going to have drawn her since he met her at the ball.
Oh, yes, that'll be amazing.
The lady in silver or whatever she's called in the book. Yeah, like he'll have drawn her like multiple ways.
Yeah, it'll be really fun.
And then she'll find that. So
yes, yeah, absolutely. So
not that I write this story, but you can read this pretty far away.
we know where they're going with this. And I will say, I know that we don't necessarily agree on Benedict, but I will say I adored him this season. Once again, I always love his interactions.
I liked him this season.
Yeah,
I did. I need him to become more serious. I know that he is always going to be a goofball. There's so much stuff that happens. Like he goes and gets high, and he's like goofy during the one meal where he like pats his
over
face
the
and knocks over the wine.
Because he knocks over the wine. Yeah,
I just I need him to like grow up a little bit more. I just part of that happened in season 3. I just like
part of it happened, but also here's the thing is that because Jonathan Bailey and Simone Ashley have effectively left the show after season 3 to go to India.
The character they took
the character. Oh, are they?
That is that is what has been confirmed. They're listed in this season. They're back.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how much they're back, because Benedict grows up a little every time he has to step into Anthony's role. Yeah. So like in season 1, when he is Anthony's second during the duel, you see some maturity from him. In season 2, when he's like going to the academy and being more serious about his art, you see some maturity from him. And in the next season, when Anthony's away on his honeymoon and
he did a good job of taking care of the house.
Yeah, he's like the man of the house, and he's to the point that it actually causes him an identity crisis when Anthony comes back, because he's like, well, I had a purpose when I was in charge, but now I don't. And he doesn't know what to do with himself. So Benedict is like, he definitely needs to mature, but he just hasn't been in a circumstance where he could. Really is the best way. So that does create a little bit of a stagnation for his character, but I like him calling Anthony out on his view of poetry. I always love him being supportive of Eloise. I just, him joking around with the other siblings is always fun.
And he's like a really great older brother to the younger ones too, which is like, he always was like sort of like that big brother that I'm sure they wanted Anthony to be, and that he starts to step into more as he, as he returns to himself, basically.
Yeah.
It's good. I like it. Like, sometimes you can't always find what you need in your older siblings, but good thing that they have so many of them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's nice because you get to see them all change over time, right? You get to see how they step in and out of these roles depending on what phase of life they're in, and so it's interesting. But yeah, so then Colin,
okay, so he is partially through his travels, but he chooses
to
go again. I like that they brought him back, because we have a little bit of movement with Penn and him in this, and then we get the absolute like Penelope Featherington, you must be joking.
I would never.
And then like, I'm going to swear off women, because he had this confrontation or this exploration of where Marina was at, and that she's actually kind of happy, even though like maybe not everything is perfect. It's okay. Marina is okay.
It's this realization that she didn't need him, and he's kind of crushed by that, actually. Like, part of him, I think, wanted to see her like regretting that they didn't get together, but actually
that he could help her. Like, I feel like he really wanted to like come there and be like, I can be of service, but like,
Philip she was like, no, I don't need you.
I'm fine, dude. Like, she's great. I'm great. What do you want? Like, and it's interesting because a big thing that is called out in season 3 is his desire to be needed by the woman that he loves.
Yeah, absolutely.
He calls it out to Penn like 3 times or something ridiculous. Like, he's like, what am I good for if you don't, like,
well, because from his perspective, no one in his family needs him. Like, even when he like goes off on his travels, no one else responds to his letters. When he comes back and tells them all about it, they don't want to hear it. They're not interested. So he's just sort of feels like no one cares. No one's interested in me. No one needs me. Like, what's the deal? And so he needs to be needed. And so he's confronting that a lot. And that's why he tells Penn in this season, like, I need to find my purpose. And of course, she has a much clearer idea of that than he does, because she's got her Lady Whistledown thing going on, and it's not everything, but it is something. And so
and she loves his letters. She loves his writing. And so like, oh man, like he's like, I swear off women. She's like, well, I am a woman. And he's like, Penn, you are my friend. You are the exception. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. So I think their relationship progresses at exactly the right pace to set us up for season 3. Yeah. So, yep. All right. We talked about Daphne already and how she's the goddess for Anthony. So that was cool. So then,
she gives out wisdom and benefits, and I was sad to see her not in season
Yeah.
3. I hope they do
I
get
agree.
her to come back at some point. Where they
Oh,
can all come
I
together.
wish they would. I wish they would, especially because like what makes me extra sad about her not being in season 3 is that in the book for season 3, which is Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, uh, she's the one I think that throws the big ball where they reveal Penn's identity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little bummed, but you know what? I also like the season, so you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Eloise.
yes.
So
Eloise.
Eloise is like moves on from Whistle Down being like this
obsession,
but then moves into, well, isn't there a better way of being? And she's always sort of doubling down on this idea of like, what is this existence that I have been born into?
Mm-hmm.
And so she explores it, of course, with Theo and, goes to these, I guess, debates or speeches of the common folk. And he rightfully calls her out a bunch of times. I do think that she was genuine in her desire to like learn and become better. Honestly, I don't know. Like, I haven't read her book yet, and I do want to, like, soon. Because I don't know where this is going.
I am very so. Can I spoil something for you?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So
I know who she ends up with, but
like, do you understand how that happens? Because that, to be honest with you, I don't know how they're going to thread that needle. I'm really concerned about it.
I'm guessing Marina dies.
Right, but like that's messed up.
Yeah.
Like because this is where you get into issues with like. They're not just doing diverse casting where many of these characters who are, presented as white in the books are now characters of color, and they're making that part of the narrative, and they're making that they're bringing in elements of their culture. Like,
especially first season, they called it out as something that was ultra significant.
Exactly.
And so, like, I can definitely see that being problematic.
And I mentioned I mentioned last episode about how like the actress who played Marina was really not thrilled with how she was treated, how her character was treated. And I think that's pretty valid. I think it's one of the better critiques of season 1 is there were some real issues with the way that they handled the character of Marina. And so now to kill her off for Eloise when she has 2 young children.
Yeah.
It's pretty messed up. But I don't know. They can't make her abandon them. Like, they don't really have any good options. So I really don't know how they're going to do that in a way that isn't problematic, to be honest with you. It's going
to be TV. It's going to be consumption.
I don't envy them having to try to do that delicately.
It's going to be TB. It's always consumption.
I know.
It's always consumption.
I know. So we'll see, but
that in and of itself is so rare, like, to have tragedy, but we get more tragedy with Francesca's story. We get more tragedy with Eloise's story. Like,
I get it. It just bums me out because it just makes you feel like the character of Marina is not really getting her due, and that's a bummer. But anyway, all of that to say that like so Eloise in this season, I really like it because she's always like, oh, I want pursuits of the mind and everything. And so that's true. She goes this and she's so excited. She wants to engage with ideas and everything else and all this other stuff. And of course ends up forming this affinity with Theo, and she doesn't even recognize what it is at first. And so that when she starts to realize she has feelings with him, she's kind of freaking out because this was not something she had really ever considered before. And she doesn't know what to do. And so it's cute. It's like baby's first romance. It's like very adorable. But she also just is incredibly selfish. She's always like, she's only thinking of herself. She's not thinking her family. She's not thinking of Theo. She's not thinking of even the servants who are constantly risking things to take her there. Like, she's just super self-absorbed all the time. And, even the way that she's always using this as an excuse to get out of like family functions and everything else. And she cannot behave for 5 seconds. She is constantly
this season issues. I was so annoyed with her.
She's a pain.
I mean, but again, they show transformation through time, which is great. It's just, man.
So she's growing, and I do still love her. But yeah, she has a rough time this season because she it is one of my favorite things actually about Theo is he calls her out on it. He literally basically accuses her of slumming it with him.
Like
he's
slumming it for like
yeah,
basically enjoyment. Like
yeah, he's like
this is kind of gross,
you,
dude.
Yeah, he's like this for you is recreation, and this for me is real life. Like he's like, no, this is not like. So I appreciate that.
And
he
so
calls her out on
when
that.
Whistledown actually calls her out, like for the sake of like both protecting her own identity as well as for protecting Eloise in the worst possible way possible, it really does come to a head and help Eloise see the difference and that she was putting everybody in danger.
Yeah, well, and not even just danger, but just in general. Again, she's just never thinking of other. In fact, it's like her disdain for everyone. She's always like, "Oh, I'm the smartest person in the room." That's kind of her whole shtick. And so, being able to look around at other people and be like, "Oh, other people have valid concerns too. It's not just about me." Like, I think that's really
by
important.
the end of season 3, she very much realizes she's not the smartest person in any room.
Yes, exactly.
It's great. She discovers that Penelope is Lady Whistledown, and that is a big turn in their relationship.
Yeah, and just it's so important because, you know, again, these characters, every character, at some point, they have to be torn all the way down. All the way. There has to be nothing left. You know, everything has to be stripped away. And so that is what, you know, like, we know it's going to happen again to Eloise, but right now it has definitely started happening for sure because, you know, here she betrayed her family accidentally. She lost Theo, and now she's broken up with Penn. Basically, like the Penn Eloise breakup scene is painful. It's so sad because I mean we all knew it was coming, but it's still like brutal when it happens. So now she has like no friends, no family, no nothing. She's just kind of like, and she's still stuck kind of in the marriage mart. She can't go anywhere. She can't, you know, do these pursuits of the mind that she wants to do. She just like all the things that she had are gone. And so, yeah, she's kind of a mess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Francesca, we see her enjoyment of the piano enhance.
Yes.
And that's although she's got more of a humor about her this season than the future seasons. So
the recasting definitely changed her personality a bit. I always thought she was kind of like goofy and funny, and they're probably going to chalk that up to her being younger, but I do think her personality changes with the recast. So it's fine.
Gregory's main purpose this season is actually to be Anthony as the child he thought he should be. Like, and so he fulfills that a little bit throughout the season, but especially in that moment when he has the discussion about what his father was like, and it makes Anthony realize he needs to be more for the younger children than what he has been.
Gregory also, you know, a little bit that I did observe of him this season is he is very focused on trying to be what everyone expects him to be. Like, he's got all these older brothers and he feels like he has a lot to live up to. So you always see him focused on his studies, whether it's Latin or dancing or whatever. And other characters mention it. Like Eloise mentions that he's a better dancer than she is. And, you know, Lady Danbury's like, come here and show me all the dancing you've been learning. Like it's very much like, again, he is one of the Bridgerton brothers, and so that creates a very high standard for him.
Yeah. And of course, we have Hyacinth, who is just always in competition with the Gregory. That's what they have like the whole season. So, again, well, I mean, that's what it is.
Hyacinth's role at this point is still just to kind of like be the baby of the family. I do have this vision of like the final season or whatever of like there being some sort of like threat to Hyacinth, like, you know, maybe like the Ton like disapproves of her or something like that, and like every single Bridgerton sibling like showing up like, what'd you say to our sister?
That would be amazing, right?
I would love that. I want something exactly like that because I just love the idea of like, you know, like she is the baby of this massive family of people who all truly and deeply believe in loving each other, right? And and so to kind of like wrap up our review of the Bridgerton family, like what I said last episode still holds true, is that, yes, I love the romance, but ultimately what keeps me coming back for this show is the Bridgerton family. I love them. I love their interactions with each other. I love, that when they fight, when they support one another, when they goof off together, when they refer to like family history that we don't see on screen, but that is shared between them. Like there's even a moment that I really love in this, during one of the flashbacks, the one where Violet is in labor with Hyacinth, and Anthony walks through the room, and you see briefly this shot off to the side where a little Daphne is singing to a little Eloise, and that's a callback to the moment in season 1,
right, when they talk about the birth of Hyacinth.
They talk about that,
yeah,
right, and how scary it was for them, and Eloise was like, "You sang to me to try to keep me from hearing, but I still," and so like the fact that they remembered that and put that in, I was just like, "Oh, babies!"
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Like, and I totally agree that like that is one thing that elevates the entire thing, because we talked about it last season, of course, which is oftentimes in these bodice rippers, you have like orphans, or you have people who are abandoned by families or whatever. Right. You don't get this solid like familial unit that you're working through their stories, and that you keep on coming back to the love of that family being the core.
Yes.
Let's talk about Lady Featherington. She got full story this season.
Yeah, they did a lot with her this season. I know some people don't like this subplot. I don't actually agree. I thought
it was great.
Yeah, I really like it.
I like Cousin Jack as like this predator. He is a predator of the Ton, but he's also technically a predator of Lady Featherington. And she just absolutely is like, no, dude, I'm way smarter than you.
Yes.
And I care about my young ladies more than I care about the prospect of a man in my life. And it made me finally respect her. I could not respect her in the first season. No. I still struggled to respect her in the third season, but she is trying her best. And it absolutely was very smart how she went about what she needed to do. But she always is a negative shadow archetype.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she is a sorceress. Because she's always playing aggressively.
But she's so interesting. You know what it makes me think of is like in the 2005 version of Pride and Prejudice, like when, they find out that Lydia's married to Wickham, and the Mrs. Bennet gets so excited, and she's like a daughter married, and Elizabeth says disdainfully, she goes, "Is that really all you think about?" And Mrs. Bennet turns around and says, "When you have 5 daughters, Lizzie, tell me what else will occupy your mind, and then maybe you will understand." And like that to me is like what's happening with Lady Featherington in this, is like, you understand the environment, the society she lives in, and the situation she's in, and what she has to work with, and what her resources are, and everything. And the best
thing she can do for her and her future is make sure those ladies are all married.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And she is like, she's awful, but she is on it. She's come hell or high water, she is gonna make it happen. And like, I really love it. They give her a lot of complexity, and it is really satisfying when she bests him at the end.
Yeah, it really is. And like basically gets everything she needs to continue on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really well done. So I liked it.
Queen Charlotte. She is continuing to be our goddess, our Venus. Of course, Aphrodite, the controller of love. And it will be important not only for her season that we're going to talk about next. Spoilers. No, we're going to go in release order, of course. So Queen Charlotte is next, because I think that there's some key stuff about Lady Danbury and Violet that is really important, that ties into season 3.
Very much.
That we want to make sure that we're covering. But she's great in this season. She has her own struggles. She is definitely up and down as far as what she's trying to do. And it really does sort of culminate in season 3 with all of the questions that are posed to her of like hunting Lady Whistledown and the struggles of the Ton, and like what is the purpose of what she's trying to control. It's really good. There's a lot of questions that are posed for Queen Charlotte in this.
Yeah,
season.
absolutely. Yeah, season 2 is so interesting just because it's, season 1, you get very little kind of her complexity. I think the most that we really get is that quick behind the scenes view where she has that dinner with George and he ends up getting upset because the child is dead or whatever. And so like that's the kind of really all we get in season 1. But then in this one, obviously there's another scene with George, but there's other moments too of just where you really understand what she's going through, how lonely it is for her, um, and how, all those, also this just power struggle between her
Mm-hmm.
and Lady Whistledown is really important. So it's well done.
On to
Yeah.
Lady Danbury, who, yeah, she has been great this whole season and struggling with her own importance. And it's interesting to see how much she changes in the third season. So, and of course, we get great exploration of her in Queen Charlotte, which I'm looking forward to.
Oh my gosh. One of my favorite things absolutely is the approach to young Lady Danbury. I think it's spot on. So, yeah, absolutely. So I loved her this season and of course I love where she goes from here.
Let's talk about Violet. She is very steady but frustrated with her children. Like, she becomes frustrated with Eloise the whole season. She's frustrated with Anthony. It's great because she
It is
also
great.
like learns to struggle too.
Yeah, I feel like she has a very important role this season, which is easier to see in hindsight when you start looking at the following seasons. Which, because again, I think that, and we haven't mentioned this yet, but when we get to Queen Charlotte, only Violet and Lady Danbury show up as like recurring characters from the regular Bridgerton show. All other characters are absent. So we don't see any of the kids. We don't see any of the other characters. It's just the two of them. So her story basically continues there in continuity here because she actually references the issue between Penelope and Eloise. So we know that that's what happens next. And so her role in this season, firstly, of course, is what she always does for her children, which is knock sense into them when they're being ridiculous. But then secondly, it's also, you have to see her sort of finding resolution after her husband's death. Because on the one hand, to your point, she's had more than 10 years at this point to sort of like, that time has healed some of the wound, right? But the events of the season bring that up again. And when she sees how much it has affected Anthony, she is reminded of how she felt after Edmund's death. And she really kind of grieves anew at some points in this season, and especially in that last episode where she's talking to him about how she would do it all over again and everything. And so what you're seeing here is that the depth of her love for her husband, how much she misses him. Obviously, there was in the previous season where there was that moment with her touching the pillow and everything. So they've really emphasized in season 1 and 2 about how she just had this great, wonderful soulmate love with her husband, and now he's gone. But what they're doing here is they're sort of not tying that off, but they're saying like, yeah, this is all true, but she's still a person with a lot of life left to live and a lot of desires and everything. And they're going to start to move into that about this idea of like, is she just a sad widow for the rest of her life, or does she do other things? And so I feel like that's what they're setting up for here.
So yeah, Shonda has been quoted with saying that all the Bridgertons will get married, including Violet.
Yep.
And so that's where I think they might pull out the Violet a Bridgerton story where they deal with both Edmund's love and a future love at the same
I love
time.
it. So similar to Queen Charlotte, where they have like the parallel past and current stories. Yeah, I like that idea.
I don't know if it's going to be after Benedict and Sophie or later.
I feel like it would have to be
like no, but like after.
Oh, much later. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, if they wait too long, then either her relationship with the guy will have stalled, or it'll be a different guy because they can't drag it out too long.
So it could be after Sophie and Benedict, right? Because they will have
would make the most sense.
Stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's the name of the guy? Lady Danbury's brother. I can't
remember Lady Danbury's brother, but I don't remember his name. Sorry. We haven't gotten to that season yet, so
I do not remember his name. But of course he shows up in season 3 and is presented as an active suitor after Violet resolves some stuff in Queen Charlotte. Sneaking ahead.
Exactly.
So it's great.
Right. So yeah,
we're looking forward to this.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I just like I again, it's almost impossible for me to choose my favorites from any of this stuff, like favorite season, favorite episodes, favorite characters. I can't because it's all so fun and there's so much great stuff. So, but I am really looking forward to getting through Queen Charlotte because I just think it's a gift. So good.
Yeah, absolutely. I was asked recently what my favorite Bridgerton season was, and I do love Kate and Anthony. I do love all of them individually, but I said Queen Charlotte. So
yeah, I think if you forced me to choose, I would have to say Queen Charlotte. It's so good. It's so good. But it's so good because it has right. Yeah, absolutely. But it's so good because it has the context of the other seasons. Like that's what makes it really strong. So so I'm excited for that.
And
it's very thoughtful.
Intentional. And I love intentional storytelling, man.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. But this season was excellent. I'm so glad we got to talk about it. Such a fun time.
Absolutely. And so we will be back in very shortly with Queen Charlotte. And I hope you follow us along for that journey. So you have time to rewatch. Missy, where can people find you if they're looking for you online?
Please look for me on Tumblr, where I am All Girls Are Princesses.
And I can be found on Blue Sky at Marie C. Gould at Blue Sky. And I think I'm out there somewhere else like Instagram or something like that. But my social media footprint is shrinking with time. So
yeah,
if you found this, congratulations.
Good job.
Good job on hunting us down, just like the hunters that were in this season.
That's right.
All right, everyone. Take care. Bye.